Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herald here on Badlands Media. I am your host, Jon Herold. Happy Hump Day. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. It's a little less crazy, I would say, than the last few weeks. But yeah, should be a good show. Plenty to discuss. Some weird things going on. Some devil-related stuff we'll save for tonight's Power Hour with Burning Bright. But anyway, saw this says 2 job interviews today, fam. Prayers, please, that I find the right place to land, not runny psychopaths. Yeah, prayers to you, saw this. Hope you get a good gig and the one that you were looking for. Yeah, Bass Burns says, unless you're an ICE agent in Dallas, not so less crazy. We'll talk about that. There was a shooting, another shooting where the perpetrator wrote a message on the bullets. Yeah, we'll get into that. Red Pill 78 Wife, good to see you. Joanne Coach. Run by psychos, thought this said, not running psychos. Or runny. Anyway, if you're lurking, pop in the chat, say hi. Do us a favor, help with those metrics, and then don't forget to hit that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. But let's get to our sponsors of today's show, and we will get cruising. First up, we got Pet Club 247.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Thank you to Pet Club 247, and we also got Scales Gear. I should have went and put my shirt on because I absolutely love these guys' clothing. It's the only stuff I'll wear outside of my super bland Travis Matthews ones. The Scales Freedom Collection is where patriotism meets style and comfort. Inspired by salt air, tight lines, and the stars and stripes, this collection celebrates the American spirit through the lens of those who love outdoor adventures. From long-sleeve performance shirts built for the elements to butter-soft tees and hats with bold, ocean-inspired Americana prints, every piece is designed to keep you cool, protected, and proud to be an American. Built for the elements, designed for freedom. Shop now at badlandsmedia.tv/scales. Enter the code Badlands at checkout for 20% off your next purchase. Thank you to Scales Gear. And thank you to those who support our sponsors. It is a great way to support us. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the YouTube situation. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those watching over on YouTube, because we do have a YouTube channel. We don't advertise it much. It's like our 4th or 5th one. I don't even remember. But yesterday, Jim Jordan, he comes out with the letter from, I think it was Alphabet Company or Google or whatever, saying they're going to, let people back onto the platform who were let go for COVID-19 misinformation and election misinformation. And I was saying how, there's a lot of people that were let off before that. A lot of people let off or banned from the platform. Terminated is the word they use when you get the email. Terminated from the platform for a different label, a different reason, harmful conspiracies or whatever. But I did go back to all of our old YouTube accounts and I asked or appealed to get them reinstated. I doubt any of them will work. It sounds like they're going to go through case by case and start with a small group of people, and they're going to choose who gets let back on. The whole thing is stupid. Celebrating it as a win, I think it's gaslighting. Celebrating it as a win, I don't think is justified. I also think that they're essentially admitting to election interference, and if they don't get punished for this, like they clearly infringed on people's First Amendment right, and they're admitting to it, there's got to be some accountability for that, right? You would think, you would hope. So, like, again, celebrating this, we can celebrate the acknowledgement that YouTube admitted to the thing we all already knew that they were doing. So good job. You admitted to it. We already knew it. We should celebrate when there's either A, accountability, and or B, they actually do something to advance free speech, change the algorithms, let everybody back on. It's not enough. But whatever, is what it is. I just wanted to add that in there. I don't even remember why, other than to give a shout out to the YouTubers watching. You guys are great. Yeah, so no update on the Doge website. I'm curious. We should be getting close to the next update coming soon. And the last few have been very, very poor. So I wonder what we're going to get. Nothing new on the presidential website. There's one thing I wanted to mention, though. So yesterday I started the show talking about this executive order to declare Antifa a domestic terror organization. And then Dave Bratt came on like in the middle while I was going through that. And there's a couple things that I forgot to mention because when he left, it was like 20-minute interview, whatever, came back on and picked up on this. And I missed a couple things. And one of the things I missed, but I brought it up yesterday on Twitter, is there's no actual law that exists. Like there's no crime for domestic terrorism. Our Congress hasn't created the law or designated a crime called domestic terrorism. And yesterday, Matt Walsh had this post, why haven't the feds already moved in, arrested every single one of these people, charged them with domestic terrorism, and then sent them to Gitmo to await trial? Because it's Antifa. They're surrounding some federal building in Oregon. Later on, the feds did go in and arrest them. But the reality is there is no actual standalone criminal charge, federal criminal charge, called domestic terrorism. It's typically used as a sentencing enhancement, meaning they'll charge somebody for trespassing or murder or whatever. And then the sentencing enhancement of domestic terrorism, instead of like 12 to 24 months, it's like 40 to 60 months, something crazy. It's not an actual standalone crime. Even Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber, the alleged Oklahoma City bomber, he wasn't even charged with domestic terrorism. And he's like the case study. He's the thing everybody points to when people talk about domestic terrorism. He's probably the most famous domestic terrorist, right? He wasn't even charged with it. There's no actual standalone crime. And that's why this is another thing we're going to talk about tonight on the Power Hour, because I want to get Burning Bright's insight on it. And I have some other thoughts as to why they're doing it this way. But I think this is severely lacking. I really do. It doesn't really change what we already knew. It doesn't open up the door for more authorities. The foreign terrorist designation would have, but this one I really don't think does. So I think it's a step one. But we'll discuss that tonight, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on the Power Hour. RT Joan, Dave Bratt was awesome. I agree. He was awesome. Makes sense to me too. I also have not talked about the shooting down in Texas yet. I will get there here shortly. I want to get through some of the other stuff from yesterday, catch up on that before we get to today's news. And this was probably one of the more interesting ones. Another thing we're going to talk about tonight on the Power Hour. But there's an apparent change in tune to Trump and his stance on the Russia-Ukraine situation. And I think we need to discuss it. True Social yesterday, 1:55 p.m. After getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. I'm going to pause here right away. So Trump is trying to tell us that he didn't fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation before this. Like he had to get filled in from NATO or UN or wherever he was. Are we believing that? Because I'm not. I don't believe that for a second. So like step one, this is already some sort of psyop, which Trump always is conducting. But then he goes on to say, like, not only was I uninformed, ill-informed prior to this, but now that I am informed, I actually think Europe can win. I actually think Ukraine, and he's also kind of low-key confirming that Europe, it's a NATO war. NATO's fighting. It's a proxy war. Ridiculous. A complete contradiction too to everything he's said many times regarding this whole situation. With time and patience and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where the war started is very much an option. Because right now, as it stands, Russia, and I'm not reading anymore, Russia has advanced and basically got all their original territory back from before, like from before 2014, before the color revolutions. And now Trump is saying, well, maybe we can get that stuff back. It's an option. Why not? Now I'm reading again. Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. So again, he's like poking the bear, right? But if you believe the game theory and the Sovereign Alliance stuff, which, by the way, badlandsmedia.tv/rise, there's a Sovereign Alliance merch line that we got going, which is really cool. But if you believe that stuff, he's not actually poking Putin, and Putin knows he's not doing it. But there's another reason for this message. Okay, Russia's been I already read that. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger. When the people living in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what is really going on with this war, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through the long lines that are being formed, and all of the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has a great spirit and only getting better, Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form and, who knows, maybe even go further than that. So now they're going to take territory from Russia. Is that what he's claiming? Also, a lot of these European countries buy gas and oil from Russia. And I think there's a video or let me see if I can find it. I think it was rapid response. Part of his UN speech, he's like, I'm willing to sanction Russia, but everybody else needs to do the same thing as me. Like, all of you European countries need to stop purchasing oil and gas from Russia. Let's see if I can find it. Not that, not that, not that. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Oh, is this it? No, I will get to that comment, but I just want to find the part where he talks about. Shoot, I should have saved it. Dang it. This is a good one, though. We'll listen to that. Actually, you know what? Maybe I did save it. Yeah, well, I guess we'll get to it if I have it pulled up. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on looking for that particular comment. But regardless, like he is saying that Russia is like falling apart. They're not a real military power. They're a paper tiger. He's poking the bear there. He's saying we're going to keep sending weapons to Ukraine or to NATO, and they can do whatever they want. We're going to sell to NATO. NATO can do whatever they want. And he says that here, Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble, and this is the time for Ukraine to act. In any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do with what they want with them. Good luck to all. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Just a weird post, complete flip. And we've talked about before how Trump will sometimes take he'll play good cop, bad cop and take total inversions of the same story. Like he'll go to one side and they'll go all the way to the other. It kind of seems like he's doing that. Me and BB will get into the details of the game theory behind this tonight, but Moscow did respond. They did respond and said, Russia to Trump, we're a real bear, not a paper tiger. I am rubber and you are glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. That was a direct quote from Putin. Kremlin brushes off mockery of its military might by the U.S. president. Moscow gave Donald Trump a zoology lesson Wednesday, insisting that Russia is a bear and not a paper tiger on the geopolitical stage. Russia is by no means a tiger. Russia is traditionally seen as a bear. There's no such thing as paper bears. Russia is a real bear. There's nothing paper about it. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. What is this? What is life right now? This is hilarious. But that was an official response to what Trump said from Russia. They are a real bear, not a paper bear, and definitely not a paper tiger. Absurd. Okay, let's listen to a couple comments. So this is what Carolyn Levitt said on Jesse Waters last night regarding his frustration with Putin.
Look, President Trump has been very clear that he's been increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war for a very long time. But most recently, he's been incredibly frustrated with President Putin and Russia, who continue to talk nice, but then we wake up every morning and in the West Wing, we're receiving reports about how Russia bombed Ukraine and they continue to kill innocent civilians. And the president is making it very clear that Russia is in a very weak position. And he's absolutely right. They are a massive country with a massive military. They are a war economy, but it's been 3.5 years. And look at how Ukraine has been able to defend itself. And so the president has said that we are going to continue selling weapons to NATO, and NATO and Ukraine can choose how to use those weapons. But the way that this weapon arrangement has now taken place under President Trump is putting America first, because we are selling these weapons to Ukraine and to NATO, and NATO is backfilling those weapons to Ukraine. So the American taxpayer is benefiting from this. That's a change and a shift in position from the Biden administration. But the president has said, if Vladimir Putin wants to keep fighting, well, the president knows how to fight. But ultimately, always, Jesse, the president has wanted peace. He's wanted this war to come to an end, and he's made that very clear since he came into office in January.
So there's that. And this, I found the relevant quote that I wanted to point out.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them. And it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth.
I just don't buy it. If I'm being totally honest, I don't buy it. There's something else going on here. And again, you know, I have my thoughts. It's more of a devolution-y thing. We'll talk about it later tonight. So make sure you guys tune in. He did make some comments about the UN just not working. And I do think he is potentially, and this is something I called for like years ago. A couple people on Badlands have been calling for it. Like, let's just leave NATO. Let's leave the UN. Like, what is it actually benefiting us? You know, we're not directly participating in what they're doing with the proxy war against Russia anyway. We're selling them weapons. Is that more of an economic thing? Is that even real? I don't know. But Besson had some interesting comments today as well. Let me play this.
President Trump, as you know, Maria, is all about solutions. Why have we accepted that things don't work? He asked, like, why is the federal government not delivering for people? Why are our cities unsafe? So he came to New York, and he has great respect for the United Nations, but he called them out for it not working. You know, the president has done 7 peace deals, and the UN never got in contact with him. How does that work? You know, he called out the rest of the world and our allies for their failures, whether it's on immigration, on energy, on their economies, and you know, he excoriated them. But then he said, "This is American leadership. Come with us if you want to. We will lead."
Yeah.
And you know, Maria, this is what American leadership looks like, and I think people missed it for 4 years, whether in the U.S. or on the world stage. And the U.S. is back.
U.S. is back, yeah, but why? Like, why are we bothering then? If we're all admitting it's not working, what's the point? What legitimately, what is the point of us even being in the UN or NATO? It's a waste of money. We're taking care of shit on our own. We don't need them. We can do all the economic deals without us actually being part of the UN or NATO. There's no point, in my opinion. And I'm sure there are legitimate reasons, whatever. People probably have those, but I haven't heard one. So I would love to see Trump leave the UN or NATO. We'll see if it actually happens. He's been setting the table on it for a little while. But defense stocks have rallied as Trump, in a major shift, says Ukraine can win back territory from Russia. Ridiculous. But yeah, again, we'll talk about that here tonight. He did have a post yesterday about Jimmy Kimmel. This was 9:30 last night. I don't know what time Jimmy Kimmel's show is. Never watched it. Did see a couple clips, though. But here we have what he said. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. And the reality is he was never actually fired. He was just suspended. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He's yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. So it sounds like Trump is almost threatening some sort of lawsuit here. And this is interesting. I said yesterday, why do we care what Jimmy Kimmel has to say? You know, just by drawing attention to him, you're making his platform even bigger. You're making him like this. You're putting on a pedestal. You're making him a martyr of free speech for the left. And I don't know what the ratings on his show were last night. I haven't seen anything, but he had a couple clips where he like apologized and, you know, said I never meant it, like the Charlie Kirk comment like that, and he started crying when he was talking about Kirk himself. You know what? Maybe I can even find that part. Because again, I only saw a couple clips and I was like, gosh, this is ridiculous. And it's our fault because the right, Con Inc., did the whole consequence culture thing, and it's only going to keep us in this loop. I'm going to speed this up, though.
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make. But I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. It ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
It's that part right there at the end. He is a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. I mean, Trump isn't lying about that. And at the end there, he's like, you know, we live in a country where we're allowed to have a show like this, where we get to have a show where, you know, free speech, whatever. Yet their party, these people were the ones who censored everybody. We just had an admission from YouTube, something we all knew. But this is what I'm saying, and what I've been saying about the consequence culture, the cancel culture stuff, and why I'm not participating in it, because it's a psyop. They want this back and forth. It's controlled opposition dynamic, the uniparty regime, whatever you call it, the deep state. They're going to keep us distracted by this back and forth, you know, cancel me harder, consequence me harder, whatever. And we're never going to break free from that cycle. And this is just one of the next play, next chess move. And a lot of people fell for it and are falling for it. And people are going to be calling to get him canceled. Like yesterday, had people on the right were calling Sinclair and whatever the other agency was with all the affiliate networks to get them to not air it. And they did. They didn't air it. I bet it comes back. But if you got to be able to recognize the psyops when they're happening. Yeah, let's go through a few badlandsmedia.tv news stories. Secret Service probes UN incidents involving Trump and First Lady. Secret Service has opened an investigation into whether technical malfunctions at the United Nations involving President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were intentional. And you cannot tell me, especially the escalator thing, that was not intentional. Like, I could understand the teleprompter thing being a glitch, although I don't think he was the first person to speak. I think he was the second person. So if there was a glitch with the teleprompter, it's a little more unlikely that it happened for just him and not the person before him. But the escalator thing was 100% deliberate. And it was, I mean, I would investigate it as a threat too. Like that's the president of the United States. You could easily make the argument that they were trying to harm him in some way, like at least have him fall and get hurt. And if that wasn't their direct intention, they were at least trying to get some sort of viral social media clip where Trump fell on an escalator. Either way, absolutely investigate that. Ridiculous. Chief of Staff Chad Mizell is leaving the Justice Department. Mizell's departure comes after Trump criticized the department over the weekend on Truth Social, stating, "Same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done." So is this guy like a scapegoat, a patsy? I've never even heard of this guy, if I'm being totally honest. But the reason I wanted to read it is because they're tying it to the post over the weekend. Mizell, who was named Chief of Staff in December and also served as Acting Associate Attorney General, previously held several senior roles in the first Trump administration. He worked as Chief Legal Officer for Jared Kushner's private equity firm before returning to Washington, D.C. Sources said some White House staffers had grown frustrated with Mizell, believing he should have shielded Bondi from fallout over the Epstein files controversy, though there's no indication Trump shared those concerns. White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson defended Mizell, saying he played a key role in securing countless legal victories and helped deliver on many President Trump's key promises. But this part here, like, how could Mizell have shielded Bondi from Epstein files controversy fallout? She did that to herself. She did not need to go on Jesse Waters' show and say that she had the files on her desk. She didn't need to bring the Bindergate people in and give them all binders and whatever. Like, that was all her. I don't know how that was somehow his fault, if that story is even true. Trump assures Arab leaders that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. This is pretty interesting. Another story we're going to discuss tonight. We've already been going back and forth on, me and Burning Bread, on some of our topics for tonight. This is one of them too. President Trump assured Arab leaders during a Tuesday meeting that he would not allow Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to annex the West Bank. Two sources said Trump and his team presented a white paper outlining the administration's plan to end the war, including the annexation pledge, along with the details on governance and post-war security. I wonder if it's Kushner's, because I know Kushner and what's his name? For some reason I'm thinking Watnick, but I know that's not it. It's Steve. No, it's not Lutnick. Why can't I think of his name? Somebody in the chat help me. But I'm going to keep reading. Witkoff? I think that's it. Trump called the sit down with 8 Arab countries at the United Nations most important of the day, but left without speaking to reporters, and participants have yet to release an official readout. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, or I always say his name wrong, described the meeting as fruitful on Fox News, though he provided no further details. Trump and Erdogan are scheduled to meet again at the White House on Thursday. Ahead of the discussion, Arab leaders reportedly sought to stress that any Israeli move into the West Bank could jeopardize the Abraham Accords, Trump's signature foreign policy achievement during his first term. Yeah, Witkoff, thank you. She did to herself. Stop promoting it. Turn down the volume. Don't need to hear their bullshit. I don't know what you're talking about. Secret Service ain't worth shit. I could probably agree with that. Bay Arthur's Dick says, I don't often agree with Mike Cernovich, but he thinks the Secret Service is completely ineffective and Trump should be protected by special forces, Rangers, with full tactical gear and automatic weapons. I do agree with that, and that's what we saw. Like, that's basically along with Secret Service, who was guarding Trump for some of the interim period between while Biden was in there. Yeah, I don't trust Secret Service. Not currently, anyway. Lee Walden, John, the only way that escalator is a good thing is if the white hats had something to do with it. Otherwise, Secret Service should have been on it right away. So that's a bad sign, I think. Yeah, I mean, there are probably some people who think this is a white hat thing. I don't. I'm not, and I've made this known. I don't believe the full control white hat. Everything's a white hat op thing. Watching a movie, that's never been my belief. And I've seen some like compelling arguments for it, and I do believe there's a level of control. Like, it's not just aimless. But I've never been convinced, and I think there's plenty of, and a lot of it comes down to like the morality of it. And you guys have heard my argument on that. I won't beat a dead horse here. Shoot, I just lost the chat. 1 second. There we go. Okay, let's keep going here. Former FBI agent Peter Strzok, his constitutional claim was rejected by a federal judge. An Obama-appointed federal judge has dismissed former FBI agent Peter Strzok's claims that his termination violated the U.S. Constitution. Strzok, fired during President Trump's first term, had sent anti-Trump text messages while leading the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. At this point, only two issues remain to be resolved. Did plaintiff's termination violate the First Amendment, and did his termination violate the Fifth Amendment guarantee against the deprivation of property without due process of law? An order signed by Judge Amy Berman Jackson explained. The court concluded that Strzok's interest in expressing his opinions about political candidates on his FBI phone at that time was outweighed by the FBI's interest in avoiding the appearance of bias in its ongoing investigations of those very people and in protecting against the disruption of its law enforcement operations under then-Director Wray's leadership. So, I mean, this is a surprisingly, what I think, fitting ruling. He should have been fired, deserved to be fired. And I do hope someday he will be in prison. Ryan Routh yesterday was convicted in the attempted assassination of President Trump. And there are some interesting stories coming out. Supposedly, after the ruling came through, he took a pen and tried to like stab himself in the neck, which is nuts. But he didn't. But that's not a good sign. I would obviously he's going to need to be on suicide watch, and I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, he represented himself. He had a terrible case. Obviously didn't do very well. Anyway, former Trump antitrust chief set to join Paramount Global in senior legal role. I don't know how I feel about this stuff. You'll see what I mean here. A former top Trump administration official, Makan Del Rahim, is in advanced talks to join the newly merged Paramount Global in a senior legal role. Del Rahim, who served as Assistant Attorney General for the DOJ's antitrust division during President Trump's first term, has also advised David Ellison for several years. Since leaving government, he's been a partner at Latham Watkins, leading its global antitrust and competition practice and playing a key role in the $8.4 billion Skydance Paramount merger. His appointment could indicate Paramount is preparing for additional major transactions. Recent reports suggest Ellison, now fully in control post-merger, may pursue a Warner Bros. Discovery acquisition. Such a deal would face significant antitrust scrutiny from the DOJ and FTC, placing Del Rahim at the center of potential regulatory challenges. And the reason I said I don't know if I like this is because, I don't know. He was there during Trump's first term, so it's been a while. And so, maybe this argument isn't accurate or doesn't hold merit. But I personally don't like when people are in a role in government, getting paid by the tax dollar, making decisions on behalf of the tax dollar, and especially antitrust stuff. Like, this guy was helping rule and fight and, whatever antitrust stuff for the DOJ. And now he's going to work for a company. Like, did any of his previous rulings or cases that he worked on while in government benefit the now Paramount Warner Bros. Stuff? Like, I think allowing people to leave government and go work in roles related to what they did while in government is just it's going to breed corruption. I don't like when that happens ever. Not just this guy, it's just any time. And so many people do that. Like, how many times do we have, policymakers, or Lloyd Austin was working for defense contractors, then goes to the DOD, and then goes back to defense contractors. Like, was he making any decisions while the Secretary of Defense to benefit some of those defense contractors? Stuff like that happens all the time, and I think it's corrupt. Ali, indeed, no monopoly laws. I've yet to see them take down any monopoly. The antitrust division is totally useless. Yeah, I would agree. And that's another thing that kind of sucks, is I'm pretty sure the Google, YouTube antitrust thing that was going on, it ended up going in Google's favor. And then on the heels of that, they go and admit to, like, oh yeah, we did censor, but we're going to let everybody back on. There's just no accountability. The ad stuff is still broken. Like, Rumble doing its own thing and bringing in its own ads are great, but it doesn't have the market that YouTube does. We don't have access to that. And like, we're censored so much on YouTube itself. I think we are monetized now, at least, which is great, but we don't get a ton of views over there. So, which I'd encourage you guys, by the way, if you're watching on Rumble, at least pop in over there and hit the thumbs up, maybe. See what we can grow over there. I'm curious to see what happens. Rumble will always be our primary home, but we're obviously gonna do what we can to reach more people and benefit the Badlands host the best we can. A New Jersey man secures nearly $1 million Detroit 2020 election records through FOIA lawsuit. This is pretty awesome. A New Jersey resident has obtained 1 million documents from Detroit's 2020 election following a Freedom of Information Act request. The records provided by the city of Detroit and Wayne County include absentee ballots, signed ballot envelopes, ballot applications, voter files, and precinct tabulation tapes. Yehuda Miller initially had his FOIA request denied. After retaining an attorney and filing suit, he won access to the materials before the federal 22-month retention deadline for election records expired. Election integrity investigators in Michigan are now reviewing the documents. Miller told the Gateway Pundit that he had previously been non-political, but became engaged after the 2020 election. He said the contested results and lack of transparency from election officials in key swing states motivated him to investigate further. This release follows an earlier set of Wayne County records he obtained. Observers have described the haul as among the largest election FOIA releases in history. Yehuda Miller, I'm pretty sure this guy, let me find out exactly, because I believe he had a report or emails or something that came out a while ago, and I know I shared it, so that's why I want to find what it was that I had discussed. Nope. I have to find it. Maybe that was, yeah, I'll figure that out later. Maybe we'll talk about that on the Power Hour tonight too. All right, let's keep going here. Rumors of a standoff or shutdown. There is a standoff, which could potentially lead to a shutdown. And it's getting closer. It's the end of the month here. We're like 7 days away. The top Senate leaders aren't talking. That's a bad sign for a shutdown. Any resolution to the shutdown standoff now gripping Capitol Hill will have to involve senators from both parties locking arms. It would probably help if the two top party leaders in the Senate would start talking to each other first. Instead, a frosty pall has settled over the working relationship between Majority Leader John Thune and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, with the two Senate veterans bickering over the path forward for a shutdown-averting stopgap bill. As of Tuesday evening, neither man had spoken to each other on the subject, with each saying the other bears the burden of actually starting any conversation. So that is stalemate. And Trump just said yesterday, like, their letter that they sent, the request was absurd, and we're not even going to bother meeting with them until they become more realistic. So, I don't know, guys. I would love to see it. I'm almost like trying to be skeptical of myself because I've said it so many times and been wrong every single time. But I'm going to say it again. One of these times, they got to stop kicking the can down the road. Maybe this is that time. We shall see. The U.S. has officially declared the F-47 sixth-gen fighter is in production and set for 2028 takeoff. And if you remember back in March, when Trump unveiled this thing, it was pretty baller, because I tied it on a Liberty Den to the movie Stealth. like where the AI plane gets hit by lightning and then starts killing people and basically becomes a bad guy, and they had to use real pilots to try to defeat it. And the lesson we learned there was we shouldn't have AI airplanes, but yeah, we built one anyway. And remember when Trump announced it, he said that they'd been using it in secret for 5 years, but now it's going into production. Great stuff.
The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. There's no other nation. We know every other plane. I've seen every one of them, and it's not even close. This is a next level.
Next level. Yeah, so it's in production now. I think Boeing got the contract, which is a little scary, if you ask me. But whatever, is what it is. Yeah, Boeing would make the jets to replace the F-22 fighters. We should have General Quast on to discuss this. I'm curious what he thinks. Curious if he knows anything about it. Lithium America soars nearly 80% as Trump administration seeks equity stake in Canadian miner. So I don't know if I love this because it's not an American company. I would rather us take ownership interest in American companies, but I know it's not always going to be that way. And taking an ownership stake in something that we're going to be using for national security reasons, batteries, whatever, Bitcoin, data servers, who knows what we're going to be using this for. We're going to profit from it, which is great. But I'd imagine there's got to be a couple lithium companies that are American that we could take an ownership stake in too. Okay, here's a story from earlier. You guys were telling me I need to discuss. Shooting at Dallas ICE detention facility leaves multiple injuries and fatalities. A shooter opened fire Wednesday morning at an immigration and customs enforcement detention facility in Dallas, causing multiple injuries and fatalities. The shooter is deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I think you have a Twitter post. Let me find. Yeah, here we go. Kash Patel. This morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. See the photo below, which is bullet casings with anti-ICE written on it. Where are we at? Oh, there we go. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairie Land, Texas, where just 2 months ago an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. And I do believe, let me see if I can find any more details. The rumors I was seeing on Twitter, and this isn't confirmed, so maybe I shouldn't even say it, but the rumors are the person that died that was shot was an actual immigrant, not an officer. I don't know if that's true though. So the two deceased would be the shooter, an immigrant, and then a couple injuries for actual ICE officers. But we'll see. More details come out. Yeah, these shootings are going to keep going. The left is continuing to raise the rhetoric. And I said this last week when I said I'm not participating in the cancel culture or the consequence culture, cute new name for it, that doing this is only going to make things worse. And I still believe that to be true. I think things are only going to get worse before they get better. And I don't know what it's going to take to actually make it better so these types of things stop. But there are bad people in the world who do bad things. And yes, the Chris approach, the first principles thing, we can look at this and say yeah, it might not even be true. But when I do this show, I'm doing the headlines, right? And this is one of the headlines. So I'm not taking that approach with this. And another thing, based on my personal firsthand experience with people who knew individuals and kids who got shot at the Minneapolis shooting, I know these actual bad things happen. And I do think they're going to continue to happen. And it's by design. It's what the deep state wants us to be doing. Our actual enemy isn't the left. We just disagree with them strongly, and we continue to disagree with them strongly by design. They want us divided. They're going to try to keep us divided. They're going to raise the temperature. The rhetoric's only going to get worse and more divisive. And I don't know. I don't know what ends it. Richard Rohr, John, it's all fake and gay, so there's that. A lot of things are fake and gay. I will agree with that. But again, my approach to these types of events, the shootings especially, where I would look at the shooting and be like, false flag, fake and gay, whatever. The Minnesota shooting, my mom's best friend was related to a victim. I got pictures. My mom sent me pictures that she was sent of an actual victim who was real, wasn't fake, was actually shot on a ventilator in the hospital. She was shot in the neck. Like real. That was real. So when that happens, like, it doesn't necessarily make every single one before that real, you know, but it definitely changed my perspective on a few of those things. The lunatics will lunatics, says Fat Chance. Absolutely. Roxanne, still not seen last night's show posted. Which show last night are you talking about? There is a pattern now, Sarah in the Clouds. More engraved casings. Mangione, Charlie Kirk assassin. Now this one. Also, the Minnesota shooter wrote on their bullets too, or engraved, whatever. I don't know if it was wrote or engraved, but they found messages on bullets and on her guns, or his guns, whatever it was. Can't remember if it was a guy or girl. That one. Definite pattern. Okay, let's see what else I got for you guys. I don't know if I have a whole bunch more, but I do have a couple. Some good home economic data coming in.
Some breaking economic data coming in much better than expected. New home sales rise 800,000, and the annual rate, the estimate had been for 650,000. That also means that the sales percentage change month over month is 20.5%. The expectation had actually been a decline of 0.3%. Some breaking economic data coming.
Yeah, so I mean it's good stuff. New home sales up 20%. Interest rate, as interest rates go down, I think that number is obviously only going to go up. But the median price here is just, that's insane. That's ridiculous. Median price of a new home sold in August was $413,500. That is pretty high. I guess it's not necessarily a starter home. I just think back to my parents and when they like got a house for like $50,000, $60,000, whatever. That's how ridiculous that is. 39% of builders reported cutting prices in September. Anyway, let's see. We did have a Rumble rant come through from JD Brem, and thank you so much for this. $100. Says, thanks for your coverage and insights. I really appreciate the support, guys. Rumble rants, as always, are the best way to directly support anybody on Badlands. So truly appreciate it. I'm going to check if I got any boosts out there. It does not look like it. Oh, there's one. Yeah, Truth or Nation. I think I might have read this one from back on September 16th. Yeah, I did read that. The other thing I'll say here, guys, is don't forget we have our conference coming up. It's going to be in Florida, Cocoa Beach. If you haven't yet, I would encourage you to get your tickets because it's going to be a great time. This venue is amazing. Last time we were there was great. Last time we were there, we had a good crowd. Didn't quite sell out. This one I'm anticipating we will, because we have so many people down there in that area, and a lot of people that, you know, once they come to one, they like to come to many more. So I would encourage you to come check it out and get your tickets sooner rather than later. Because if you want to come, I don't want you to miss out. But if you're not, we'll have another conference. We haven't picked a location yet, but we have 2 booked for next year so far, Deadwood and Vegas. Again, because again, those venues are just so good. It's hard to not go back. But we still have to pick the 2 other locations, and one of them is the first one of the year. So we'll get back to you on that once we have made a decision. And also on this link, badlandsmedia.tv/events, you can find all your local Badlanders meetups. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I'm going to quick play the ad spot for Soft Disclosure, and then we'll get you guys out of here.
Deodorant should do more than cover you up. It should protect you all day long.
Dude, the deodorant stick is legit. I like the mint one. And, you know, you go work out and you kind of get like, you know, you get funky if you work out. Dude, like at the end of my workout, like I'm sweating, shirt got all those sweat. Like I'm like, dude, I still smell good. Like I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't tried it, try it.
That's the difference with Soft Disclosure. No aluminum, no chemicals, just clean, natural ingredients that fight odor and keep you fresh through every workout, every meeting, every moment.
I've always struggled with the, like, you can't use aluminum deodorant because you're going to die if you use it kind of thing, because all of the non-aluminum deodorant products suck pretty much. Yeah. This is different. This is all day. You're all day good, and you're not putting any of that disgusting chemicals right near your lymph nodes.
Soft Disclosure deodorant, real protection, real freshness, built on truth. Available in mint and lemon grapefruit. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off.
Soft disclosure. Soft disclosure, guys. Awesome. Don't forget to tune in tonight, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on the Power Hour. Should be a good show. We got plenty to discuss. I can even let me check the topics. We're going to do the Trump, Russia, Ukraine stuff and the UN address for sure. Some of the West Bank things, nuclear AI acceleration, Antifa again, some ICE stuff, plenty, and whatever else breaks between now and then. So we'll see you tonight. Hit the thumbs up, and you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday.
0. 1. Extra, read all about it. 2. 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me? Stopping me.